bulu bida na moro chumena mataki ko ni rawon ni bibo ngara taki ke misa mapo ni ana di sambulu bida na sero gori sana ni chumena kiro na moro chumai tu na sele ni sambula oyo Mr. Ben kelapa na magikiro ni bibo mataka moni chikiro moro mbuka mena ono keneliwa ena bulu FM abula
Good evening, this is FBC News. I'm Jackie Spate. In this bulletin, new national minimum wage policy comes into effect. Mixed reactions from political parties on flag change process. And heads of government departments comment on draft paper of a review of national security and defense. The new national minimum wage rate has now kicked in. The Labour Ministry says most employers have already made the necessary adjustments for their workers.
The new minimum wage rate as of tonight is $2.32 from $2 per hour.
This is through the consultation of the tripartite partners, and with that, of course, government's commitment in terms of ensuring that the livelihood of people is better, and we also need to ensure that the workers who are on the basic minimum rates, their rates to be increased.
The new rates will directly benefit more than 100,000 workers, mostly in the informal sector and those not covered by wages councils. The Labour Ministry has been out on the ground talking to employers. No one is resisting the increase.
We will also ensure that we also create awareness. We have been doing that awareness from February this year. And we have noted that majority of the employees have also agreed, and majority of the employees are actually paying above the national minimum wage. So we can see that there is a general consensus that
some of our most lowest paid workers, like car wash employees, domestic workers and casual staff, will now receive a minimum of $111.36 for every 48 hours of work.
With this in place, the livelihood of workers will improve. We can also see that there will be an increase in the FNPF contribution for the workers. This is all good news for the workers in terms of the implementation of this 10 sectoral minimum rate and, of course, the national minimum wage.
There's also been an increase ranging from 2% to 5% for people covered under the 10 wages councils. They include security services, manufacturing, printing, building, civil and electrical engineering, road transport, sawmilling and logging, hotel and catering, mining and quarrying, wholesale and retail trade, and the garment industry. Edwin Nand, FBC News.
Fiji Commerce and Employers Federation Association consultant Noel Tofinga says, apart from the national minimum wages, the Federation was not aware of the now increased fixed penalty rate from $100 to $500 and the new wages orders for the 10 existing wages council. This, he reiterates, came as a surprise to them all. The Fiji Trades Union Congress could not be reached for a comment. The extension deadline to the end of the year for submission of designs of the national flag has been welcomed by the major opposition party. However, other political parties are calling for a referendum. Prime Minister Vurenge Bainimarama says the decision to extend the deadline was in response to the overwhelming feedback received from the public in relation to the 23 shortlisted flag options. Maggie Boyle tells us more.
A day after issuing a statement announcing the extension to the consultations, Prime Minister Vurenge Bainimarama told fuel retailers that he has listened to the people and their overwhelming opinion to consider other options for a new national flag.
We've allowed the extra time because the Fijian people need it and we are listening. In our usual Wakamalua fever and Wakamalua way, the national flag design has been relatively slow to grip the public imagination. But now that it is really taken off and the submissions are in full swing, I recognize that the Fijian people need more time to mull over the various design proposals.
It's a sentiment endorsed by the main opposition party, SODELPA. The leader of the opposition, Mumu Kepa, and party president Ratamangama Lalambalavu have welcomed the decision by the PM to defer the flag decision to 2016. However, fellow opposition colleague and National Federation Party leader Dr. Biman Prasad says the people need to decide in the majority.
From the beginning has called for a referendum to determine whether people in this country want a change in the flag. That's the real question, and I think what the Prime Minister has done is merely extended the process, the flawed process that they started in the first place.
For the People's Democratic Party, their stance on the matter is clear.
The flag belongs to the people, and the people of Fiji have ownership of the flag. If there is any attempt to change the flag, there must be a public referendum where the people of Fiji have their say.
FBC News also sought views from the public about the extension.
It's a good idea, I think, because maybe the message hasn't passed right inside of the Fiji Islands.
First, I thought it was kind of short for the general public to be able to have their collective opinion on it's a national issue, and it's vital and it's important for the general public to give their issues and to give their opinions.
The flag is a very important thing for any country, and for us, like we are changing this, it's a big step for us, and it's a good thing the government is doing it, and the best thing about it is the extension.
23 shortlisted new national flag options were released on the 9th of June. It's expected that this shortlist will grow, with more public submissions called for until the 31st of December. A new national flag will now be unveiled next year. Maggie Boyle, FBC News.
Heads of government departments have been given the opportunity to study the draft paper of a review of national security and defence. The National Security and Defence Review Committee held talks with the heads of departments in Suva today. Savara Tamboa has more.
The draft paper includes submissions from members of the public and other stakeholders. The participants were encouraged to thoroughly look at the contents of the draft policy, as this will help the country tackle security challenges.
In a project that is big, complex, non-routine, and all-inclusive like this one, the challenges are manifold. More so because of this review touches the whole nation fabric of our society.
Heads of government departments shared their views on the proposed draft policy.
We agree with the concepts that have been put in place. And from that document, then the military will work on its defense white paper. Gives us the guidelines and sets the parameters.
So we have developed the white paper. All we need to do now is to see that whether it falls within the lines of the national security strategy.
There are health threats that are going to happen in Fiji or are coming our way, and therefore we have to prepare ourselves as a nation.
The committee has been tasked to prepare a national security strategy that will be submitted to Cabinet on August and then presented in Parliament. A new national security strategy framework is expected to come into effect by the end of the year. Sabara Tamboa, FBC.
Prime Minister Vurenge Bainimarama has encouraged fuel retailers to adopt environment-friendly policies that ensure sustainable development. Bainimarama called for more social responsibility while opening the annual general meeting of the Fiji Fuel Retailers Association in Suva this morning. Ellen Stahls has more.
It's a $40 million industry which virtually fuels the economy. Land, air and sea transport would be crippled without it. However, the focus for the government is green growth. Burning fuel is one of the biggest contributors to climate change.
No matter how much we develop, I believe the Fijian people must always place the sanctity of our environment before any other consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, so today I invite you specifically as fuel retailers to be part of these crucial national conversations.
The AGM was an opportune time for Bainimarama to promote green growth.
Our robust economy has put more people on the roads, encouraged more people to buy vehicles, and caused more goods to be traded and shipped. And we can do much more.
For operators, though, the main concern is the low margins or share of money they receive from fuel sales.
We are and cannot catch up while our business are shackled by price control and cash flows. We are denied a reasonable profit and return on investment. Some stations actually lose money.
The Prime Minister says the interests of retailers will be given full consideration, but he can't interfere in price control deliberations of the Commerce Commission, which is an independent body. Ellen Stahls, FBC News.
In the news ahead, FEA signs cooperation agreement with European Investment Bank for feasibility study on a project in Bar.
If you just joined us on the System After Dark, this is a homegrown number courtesy of E3 and Cracker.
Bulla, how's it going? I'm D, your host on the System After Dark, right here on Today FM. Today's hit music. You can catch me weeknights at 7 p.m. That's from Monday to Friday, only on the home of Today's hit music. And don't forget, that's D with you every weeknight on the System After Dark.
Even got that homebrew flowing. The European Investment Bank will soon provide services to the Pacific, including Fiji. The bank's Vice President, Pim van Belkom, made the announcement in Suva last night. Akosita Tale has more.
The EIB is the European Union's bank and is owned and represented by 28 member EU states. As part of its ongoing assistance, the bank is now exploring new investments by signing a microfinance facility worth about $70 million for microfinance initiatives in Fiji and the region.
We had discussions with the Minister of Infrastructure and Transport, with the Ministry of Finance, with the National Central Bank, and there are quite a few opportunities to land here.
Being an infrastructure bank, it does not only focus on transportation, but on energy diversification as well. With June's EU development theme focusing on sustainable jobs, decent growth and business, the beginning of the provision of these services comes at the right time.
It's very fitting that the European Investment Bank is here, talking about establishing loans for small and medium-sized companies, talking about providing support for better infrastructure, because these inputs from the bank will certainly have a major impact.
The EIB will continue to operate its business from its office in Sydney, Australia. However, it will work more closely with the EU delegation in the Pacific as their hub. Akosita Tale, FBC News.
The Fiji Electricity Authority is one step closer to another potential renewable energy source that will help reduce the fuel import bill and provide cleaner energy. The authority signed a $10 million cooperation agreement with the European Investment Bank for a feasibility study on a project in Bar. Ritika Pratap reports.
The Fiji Electricity Authority has completed an initial study at the Lower Bar scheme and has found pleasing results.
Water that actually flows down after we carry out generation in Nandarivatu Hydro, this is the water that flows down into the Bar River. So this particular project, we call it the Lower Bar Hydro Scheme, and through this technical assistance provided by European Investment Bank, full feasibility studies will be carried out to establish the likely output and the economic viability of the scheme.
The entire scheme includes 3 possible hydro projects. FEA aims to provide 90% of the country's energy needs through renewable sources in 10 years.
If this hydro project, for which the feasibility studies is now being signed off, concludes that we can build a hydro and deliver that extra amount of energy in renewable form into our grid.
It's money from the European Union passed on via the European Investment Bank. And hopefully, ultimately, there will be a viable project, and then we'll invest in the project as well. We are committed to do that.
Consultants will be appointed this year, and feasibility studies will begin early next year. It's estimated that a new hydro project at the Lower Bar scheme would cost about $300 million and produce 40 megawatts of electricity. If the study gives the green light, FEA will call for expressions of interest to develop the project in 2017. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
Whiskey lovers beware. This is the warning from the Consumer Council of Fiji after a consumer was left disappointed with his liquor purchase.
A man was left disappointed when he found out that the bottle of Regal whiskey that he bought from a retail outlet last month did not have the authentic taste of alcohol.
Okay, we received a complaint from a consumer residing in Osori, and he bought a bottle of Regal whiskey from a shop, a retailer, Eddie's Mart. And he took it home. They were having a big function, and he found that the whiskey tasted funny. The smell was odd, and the color was odd. So, and then when he looked at the cap, he found glue in it. So he brought it to our attention.
The Consumer Council immediately contacted the manufacturers of the product Paradise Beverages for verification purposes.
So they took the sample and they tested it. And in the testing, what they found was that the bottle contained vinegar, a weak solution of vinegar. There was no alcohol in it. So this is definitely a product tampering.
The retailer, Eddie's Mart, has distanced itself from the alleged product tampering, saying that they buy the product from other supermarkets. Manufacturers Paradise Beverages have engaged the Ministry of Health to further investigate the case.
We are advising the consumers that if they have come across such product, they should come forward and report the matter to us.
Adulteration of food or beverages falls under the ambit of the Food Safety Act 2003.
The country's oldest and leading broadcaster, Fiji Broadcasting Corporation, is today celebrating its 61st anniversary. FBC has grown from its humble beginnings of one radio station to 6 radio stations and TV station over the past 6 decades. Shriti Prasad reports.
Celebrations today as FBC marked another milestone, celebrating 61 years of existence. The company's first radio station began broadcasting on the AM frequency in English, and it has grown to 6 radio stations today.
I'd also like to pay a tribute to the staff of FBC for doing some wonderful work. Many iconic people have come through the doors of FBC and have contributed so much, not only to FBC but to Fiji as a whole. You know, household names, Anidu Diwakar and Gary Acosta and Yamne Singonovo, lots of amazing people, Benji. So, you know, we are creating more of such stars at FBC as we continue.
FBC, which is located on Gladstone Road, is a landmark for the capital city. With the addition of a television station which saw major renovation at FBC House, the future is looking bright.
In 10 years' time, sky's the limit for us. And moving on, I must say that we have a lot of surprises and good things for our listeners, which we do not want to unveil now. We want to give good surprises very soon.
The country's leading broadcaster is now looking forward to moving high-tech with the introduction of digital TV in the near future. Shriti Prasad, FBC News.
Sports is up next. Here's Jamie.
Good evening. Coming up in sports, first group of Team Fiji athletes to leave for PNG this evening, and Fiji's second half comeback secures a draw with the Wellington Phoenix. This and more after the break.
Gold FM, only the classic hits. Beautiful song from the group Firehouse and When I Look Into Your Eyes. Before that, you heard from Smokey Robinson with One Heartbeat. We'll take a short break and join us in the next hour for more music from Seal. Bulablaga. I'm DJ Tora. Join me every weekdays, 7 until midnight on the Premium Classics. Right here on Gold FM, only the classic hits.
Welcome back to FBC Sports. The first batch of Team Fiji athletes and officials will leave this evening for the Pacific Games in Papua New Guinea. Talenda Dhaka caught up with the 226-member contingent in Suva today as they prepared to depart for Nadi.
Excitement was written all over the faces of the Team Fiji athletes as they set off on their journey to Port Moresby. All the training and sacrifices will be put to the test over the next 2 weeks as they compete against the best athletes in the region.
It's been like a long build-up towards these games, and I know that the athletes are all ready to, it's really their time now to perform, and the administrators have done their bit.
2011 Pacific Games weightlifting gold medalist Manueli Tulo will lead a young squad in PNG and will compete in his first event on Sunday with a chance of securing Fiji's first medal.
My team also is made up of some youth lifters, and I took a couple of experienced lifters like Manueli Tulo and Marieli. So we're hoping to do our best there, and only time will tell if we'll be successful in Papua New Guinea.
Table tennis rep Shriti Jit is competing in her second Pacific Games. She went in 2007 but missed out on the last competition in 2011.
I just want to thank everybody who contributed towards me going to these games. I just want to say thank you.
The athletes and officials fly out on a chartered flight this evening for Port Moresby. The Pacific Games opening ceremony takes place on Saturday. Thailand Odakavak, FBC Sports.
The Vodafone Fiji football side put on a strong performance against the Wellington Phoenix last night with a 2-2 draw in Ba. Although a win would have been sweeter, head coach Carlos Buzzetti has commended his team for its gallant efforts. Josephine Avula reports.
Zebras with a cross, finding Roy Krishna. And Roy Krishna has pulled one back.
It was a superb comeback by the Fiji football side after captain Roy Krishna and Ilimotama Chese scored a goal each in the second half to level the scores with the Wellington Phoenix. Coach Carlos Buzzetti says the players gave their best during the match.
They went from second gear to third, fourth gear. It was incredible in the first 15 minutes, and that's where they scored the 2 goals. But after that, we settled it down, and then in the second half, we changed a little bit things. We changed the system a little bit. We started to put balls on the laterals, started to pay off, diagonal balls, and we saw a little bit tired, and then we started using the laterals, and then pay off.
Krishna, who was awarded the man of the match title, acknowledged the team's effort.
Today the boys dig deep, they scored 2 early goals. Was a bit disappointing not to be on their toes, for the runs. But the boys dig deep till the last minute today, and we got the equalize. So proud of the boys.
Wellington Phoenix coach Ernie Merrick says they are stunned by the performance of the Fijians.
I rate them very highly. All of our players and our coaches were saying they're a much better side than expected. And for a team that hasn't been together for 3 years, that's a good effort.
The Knicks are planning to come back next year for more pre-season matches following their successful 2-match outing this week. Josephine Novula, FBC Sports.
The 40-member Vodafone Flying Fijian squad marched into camp today to prepare for the upcoming Maori All Blacks match as well as the Pacific Nations Cup. The Fiji Rugby Union has closed off any media access to the players as they head into an undisclosed campsite over the next 3 days. Key reps such as Napoleon Inalanga and Serma Mbai will join the squad next week.
There's a few players who weren't considered for this camp either because their seasons have only finished very recently, or there's a couple of niggly injuries to some of our probably more senior players.
The Flying Fijians will host the Maori All Blacks on July 11th at the NZ Stadium in Suva. That's it from sports this evening. It's back to Jackie now with business.
ANZ and the trustees of the Fiji Excellence in Tourism Awards today announced a 3-year partnership. The annual Fiji Tourism Awards will now be called ANZ Fiji Excellence in Tourism Awards. The naming rights is a reward for their unwavering commitment to help the Fijian economy grow. Deputy Chair of the Board of Trustees for the Excellence in Tourism Awards, Bill Whitting, says ANZ being on board is a turning point for them.
This really is a new chapter in the awards history, and we're very excited that we have this very strong support from ANZ, not just in monetary terms but also in supporting us with the organisation of the awards themselves, with the senior executive being on the organising committee.
Mostly fine weather prevailed over most parts of the country today. Tropical cyclone Raquel Category 1 was analyzed near 7.0 south, 158.8 east at 3 p.m. today. It is gradually moving westwards and is expected to continue to bring heavy rain and near gale force winds over the Solomon Islands. Meanwhile, a trough of low pressure lies over Solomons and extends over to Vanuatu, south of Tuvalu, to Samoa, to southern Cooks. A broad east to southeast wind flow prevails over most southwest Pacific Island countries. Maximum temperatures remain below 30 today. Suva managed only 25 degrees, followed by Savu at 26. Mombasa and Lautoka hit a maximum of 28. Tomorrow it is fine apart from brief showers over the interior and eastern parts of the larger islands, cool nights, rough seas. And further outlook is cloudy periods with brief showers over the interior and eastern parts of the larger islands are forecast for Friday. Elsewhere, fine, cool at night. And a quick recap of our top stories. The new national minimum wage rate has now kicked in, and the Labour Ministry says most employers have already made the necessary adjustments for their workers. The extension deadline to the end of the year for submission of designs of the national flag has been welcomed by the major opposition party, SODELPA, and heads of government departments have studied the draft paper of a review of national security and defence before it will be submitted to Cabinet and Parliament. Now for this week's poll question. We've been asking, do you think Fiji Airways is doing all it can do to serve its customers? Visit our FBC website to take part. Remember, you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via Facebook page FBC News. And if you're on Twitter, follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC_news or simply hashtag FBC News. You've been watching FBC News. I'm Jackie Spade. Good night.
घर संसार में आपका स्वागत है। आपका अपना छोटा सा स्वर, जहाँ प्यार भरे रिश्ते पलते हैं, जहाँ हेल्थी रहने की सलाह दी जाती है, जहाँ हम आपको और भी सुंदर बनाते हैं और जहाँ स्वाद की सौगात भी है। नमस्कार, मैं हूँ पल्लवी। सोमवार से शुक्रवार 9 से 12 तक रेडियो FBC 2 देश की धड़कन पर घर संसार में शामिल रहिए मेरे साथ।
ऐसा सुंदर सपना अपना